Hey everyone, and welcome to Back at the Ranch, Expedition Online's after show. I'm Jessica Martin from season 1, and with me is my co-host KF from Kilimanjaro, and Danielle, one of our final 3 from Glacier Bay. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
We're excited to talk to you. You have played a very entertaining and fun game to watch.
I hope so. I feel like sometimes I'm dull on the camera because I was really containing myself all the time. I was literally in like the crossroads biting my cheeks, and you can see me talking because my husband was usually on the other side of the counter, and I'd be talking about the game to him like, yeah, this person talking right now pissed me off or whatever it was, and like, but I can't say anything because if I do, I'll expose my game, and because I'm a returnee, I did not want to put myself out like that, so I had to be really careful with what I said.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say you were not dull this season.
Yeah, that is not a word to describe you.
Well, that's good because I felt a little dullish in my at certain points.
Well, perhaps that was a good thing because I think you managed to get further this second time around an expedition than your first time. So maybe a little.
And Karl, you're the one that messed up that first time. I mean, thanks for mentioning that.
I mean,
I blame you.
Yes.
It's okay. I feel like the first time was a mistake, so I've let that slide. And 7th place wasn't a bad placement. It's still a solid placement, so I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of this is your second time around. Is there a particular reason why you said okay when you were invited to come back to expedition?
Dude, I had applied and I wanted to play, and like I knew that they didn't really bring back returnees. It wasn't a thing, and I was just like, I'm fine anyways if I can get on this game again. Like the first season, I like I said, I think it was a mistake of when I went out at 7th there. Like I think I should have stayed in the game, but I wanted to redeem myself because I knew that I could make it to the end. And as soon as I got the message, I was at a ball tournament and I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Somebody backed out or something happened. And like, I'm just like, oh, can I commit to this? Because if I'm going to play this game, I wanted to be able to commit so that I could make it to the end. Like I didn't want to join and not be able to have the full committance. And so yeah, I said yes, literally like right before the game started.
Yeah, it was a very last minute commitment, but you were in, and here you are at the final 3.
Yes, hell yeah.
Yeah, it was a fun journey for you. Day 0, dropped off at base camp. What were your thoughts? I know you saw some familiar faces.
Oh my gosh, Mariana of all people's in the game. Like, and the same game I played with Jon Snow, Mariana was also in, and that was like they were super tight, and there was a huge ordeal between me, Mariana, Jon Snow, and some other people. So, but the good thing is that me and Mariana had ended off on better terms. Hadn't talked to her since that game, which was last March, so it was quite a long time ago. But I knew, like, I was like, oh, this girl, like, she would be solid if we make it together. And I was super glad that we didn't end up in the same parties off the hop, because I wanted to have my own separate game from her. And if we made it together at Rendezvous, then I wanted to link up with her and have a game plan with her. I'm so glad we didn't end up on the same parties.
Well, while we're at it, while you you didn't get to, you had, well, maybe it was a good thing you weren't with Mariana, but you had so many other big personalities in the party that you did end up in. So how did you navigate these personalities, and basically who from day 0 were the people that you immediately felt a connection with and you wanted to work with?
Okay, I'm gonna backtrack here, but sorry, because I didn't answer that question because I got backtracked on Mariana there. But day 0, right? Yeah, when we were in there, I knew right away once we had to go chat, I needed to line up some day 0 things that I could rely on later in the game. And that's where I ended up hopping in. I got in and got to talk to Mariana at some point. It was me, her, and David. And I'm pretty sure it was Philip for a bit. And then Philip left, and David had mentioned Jess for some reason. And she had come in later. I'm pretty sure you guys would have to roll the tapes to confirm this. But from what I remember, it was us and Philip, and I was willing to work with Philip and David and Mariana. And then it was me, David, Mariana, and then Jess came in after, but I wasn't really feeling the Jess thing. That was just kind of like, oh, she came in, we added or whatever. And then we all kind of went our ways. And that's when I ended up in the room with Bambi, Olivia, and Mike. And I could tell those 3 were hitting it off right away when I went into that room. And I was like, okay, this is what I need to solidify and use to my advantage later in the game. And I worked that all game. Honestly, that came in handy like a lot of my game, truthfully. And yeah, so once I went into my party with all these huge personalities, on day 0, I didn't get to talk to all the people I wanted to. Like Neil and Troy stuck out to me first. Huge. They had big beards. They look like biker dudes. Like I'm a badass bitch. Like I love Harley Davidson. I love motorcycles. Like let's go.
This is a family show.
Sorry, my bad. But like I was like loving those men, and I didn't get a chance to talk to them on day 0 because of where I was landing in the chats. I didn't get good vibes off Cupini right away. I knew he looked like a super fan. He wasn't somebody I was going to want to work with. There were certain people's vibes that I was not having. Some I didn't get to talk to, whatever. Go into our party, like you're asking, all the big personalities. Josh was one of those people that I wasn't feeling or talking to, but then Josh pulls me into a room right away on day 0 and wants to talk, like asked me to go talk. And so that's where we built the relationship. And that was a surprising relationship I didn't think I was going to have, because I would have been willing to get him out right away. I wasn't feeling him, and did that. So that was interesting.
Yeah. Now you guys were picked, separated into 2 teams, picked by team captains Janet and Kelly Wentworth. How, like, mind you, like I still think season Kilimanjaro was the coolest season, slightly biased, but I gotta say I was jealous about that. Not only like you guys had got to be captain, and the captains got to choose you guys individually. How cool was it for Janet to have picked you to be on her team?
Okay, so that's another reason why I want to reapply, is because like I needed to be on a season expedition with real past players. Like that was the ultimate goal the first time I applied. So yeah, that was epic. I knew it was Kelly and I knew it was Janet, but as soon as I found out who the coaches were, I was like, Janet's, her charity was the same as mine, so I knew I was going to Janet. I was like, I have the same charity. I picked the same charity that Janet did. I didn't think about that when I was picking my charity. When she asked me for a charity, it was off the top of my head. I was at a baseball game and it had struck with me like a big time. That was an easy charity for me to pick. And so, yeah, I knew I was going team Janet, definitely. I love Kelly, though, but I'm so glad I ended up on Janet.
You guys win the first challenge, which is exciting, and send team Kelly to Crossroads, where Jess is voted off.
I thought they were going to vote off Bambi. I knew Mariana was going to be safe.
Why? What was it about Bambi that made you think that she would be the first one to go?
Because Bambi gave off like smart female vibes to me. Like she came off to me as a very smart female, a strong female right away. And I just felt like Bambi she was in the chat with Mike and Olivia the whole time on day 0, I'm pretty sure. So I didn't think she had gained any connections on that side, where most of those people I could see in the chats, they had already had those connections. So I thought Bambi had a disadvantage due to that as well.
No, that's a very actually astute point, I think, to make. How much were you keeping tabs on? Because I realized that
huge, all the time.
Yeah, a lot of you, your season, you guys were taking a lot of notes and keeping a lot tabs on each other. So like, how much were you like aware of everyone's conversations with everyone, even in the rooms that you were not part of?
Oh, all the time. Paying attention who's chatting to who, how long for, where. Oh, 100%. That gives you a good read on people. And that's why me and Mariana, our chats were quick, short and sweet. See you later. We know we got each other's back. Yeah, that's all that we needed to do. We were like, if we need to chat because we're concerned about one of each other, then we will. We had like a little signal and everything, and we tried to refrain from chatting together unless we were with somebody else that we made an alliance with.
Very smart, very smart. And it worked out for you guys because no one really suspected it.
I know, it's so good. Honestly. I'm proud of that. I don't people say the way they grilled that at the end, but then like if it would have been, other players that knew each other at the end, it would have been like a huge amazing accomplishment. Like they're so bitter, beat it.
Yeah, you guys did have a bitter jury. So the next day, Team Kelly has evacuation, and then you guys end up losing the next challenge, go to your first crossroads where Anthony is voted out after the tension with Karl, and that is the first day, and he's the best. That made me sad.
I know. You know what? Anthony was so amazing, but you know what? Like, and I feel like, and I know other people are trying to take some credit for that, but like, truthfully, I'm pretty positive I was the one that told Karl first that Anthony had went around and was telling people that Karl had made a final 2 deal with him, and that got Karl pissed right away. And I did that intentionally because I would have been an easy person to pick to get rid of. So I had to get it off of me as much as possible. And Anthony made that so easy, even though I loved him. Like I didn't want to take Anthony out, but for me, I had no choice. I felt like, because there was no reason to take any, you got to have a reason, to get rid of somebody. And Anthony made it easy for me so it wouldn't be me.
Did you just come out and tell everyone that you had played Kilimanjaro, or did they ask you?
I did tell people, yes. I didn't say it on day 0 in the big, huge group. I kind of told people here and there or whatever. So yeah, they see you. That's great. Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, kisses too. Oh, she's so pretty. Hey. Yeah. So yeah, that was that was all strategy for me. Unfortunately, Anthony made it so easy to make him that first target. And because I honestly can't believe that as a returning player I wasn't being looked upon too badly. Like I was shocked.
I think you got put on a party with so many big personalities that you could just hide behind them.
Truthfully, yeah. If I would have ended up with the other people, it would have been interesting to see what route and path they would have been wanting to take, because I think it would have ended up differently potentially.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think a huge part of this game has to do with the luck of the draw, and you ended up in a team where like Jess said, had so many big personalities, that a lot of like the fact that you're a returning player, the fact that you had like so many connections kind of went under the radar, like, and your game definitely benefited from that. Now the second day is also where you get introduced to the twist of the serrated peak, where you guys, I believe the other team chooses to vote Katie to go to the other to the serrated peak. Now, I
was dying to go to serrated peak.
You wanted to go? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, but you couldn't
why did you want
voice
to go?
it.
What did you think was over there?
Oh, an idol or a compass or an advantage. Like there was definitely something good happening there. And I was just like, in my head, I'm like, oh, pick me. And I'm like, they picked Katie. And I'm like, okay, not too bad. Because Katie and Karl were 2 people that right away I was thinking I was going to work with.
Yeah. But then, so what did you think of Katie's story once she came back?
Oh, it was the worst. She had the worst cover story. That was bad. That was really bad. Yeah, no, it wasn't good. Her story was like not believable at all. She was like, I'm pretty sure she was like, yeah, some lady came and gave a speech. Like, she didn't even say Janet or anybody, like some lady. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, and then she ate supper and just waited there and nothing happened. Like, you're gonna tell me you went there with Bridget? You guys, like, no, like, come on. No, I knew that was not true. But like, I didn't find out till later what the real deal was.
Did you have any inkling that it was going to be the players that got voted off at Serrated Peak?
No, I didn't think that. I didn't think it didn't cross my mind that the players that got voted off would be at Serrated Peak. No.
Surprise.
Yeah. It was interesting once I heard that. And I didn't clue in that it was continuing like that until later, because even when I found out about Katie getting, I think she had a half compass at first, because until when Jess came into the game again, because she's the one who told me that Katie had a full compass and I thought she only had a half. So there was a lot of things that I was just realizing as the time went on with the Serrated Peak.
Yeah, so the next episode, party swap, surprise, another twist thrown at you guys, which you get put on the white party wish Katine. And I think that's when you start to learn about the peak, because Team Kelly actually got the honest truth from Bridget about what happened there.
Yes, that's when I was like, oh, I knew that she was lying, but I didn't know that she was lying that bad, So it was like, damn. And I just wanted to tell my boys. And I was like, oh, I want to just out this to everyone on Team Janet. And I'm thinking this is great for my game. And yeah.
At this point, though, are you a little concerned? Because like out of all the redistribution of explorers, you end up on the only party where team OG Team Janet is in the minority. Now we're gonna see in a little bit how like it all ends up working out for you. But was there any were you concerned at this point, like when you first saw the distribute, like how yeah,
because there was three Kellys and two Janets.
yeah,
it couldn't have worked out better because one of those Kellys was Mariana. Now, if those would have been three Kellys with no Mariana, I would have been definitely concerned potentially. But Mariana being on there, I wasn't concerned at all.
and so
Even if it was all five of us and we still went to a vote, that vote would have still went the same way. I can guarantee it.
At that point, you feel pretty confident saying that you would have Mariana would have had your back 100%. You think?
Yeah, we hadn't even had a chance to chat at that point, really. But I knew that Mariana would stay solid just from knowing her from the previous game. And if that would have come to play, we would have had more time to chat, right? And also, I was eating up the Bambi, Olivia, Mike alliance. So, like, I'm pretty confident Bambi would have actually stayed with voting with us too. So, and then I would have pushed the all girls thing. Like, Kupini would have went no matter what, in my opinion.
And he did end up going. So Bill goes the first night of the swap. Kupini ends up going the second time.
I couldn't believe Bill went, to be honest. I was shocked that I was actually thinking that Haley and David would break free from Katie, or Katie was going to flip to the other side, knowing the history there with what had happened. And it's honestly unfortunate that didn't happen. I was kind of hoping it would, and it didn't. But
well, I mean, if you've heard about what happened that night, it got really close to a lot of mayhem. So
yeah, I did hear.
Yeah. Now, my question for you though, for the vote, that the next vote, so that's day 4, when you, Kupini, and Olivia end up being only 3 people from a party of 5, going into Crossroad. Was there at any point maybe the thought of perhaps getting rid of Bambi because she didn't make it that night? Okay, so you were pretty headset.
Kupini was leaving as far as I was concerned, but Olivia was like agreeing with Kupini all day, and I'm sitting there like just like listening to this lame ass conversation, and I'm like just talking about like bitching about Philip and talking about how he's gonna be whatever, and then tells us he's allies with, you know, Bambi, Mariana, and somebody else I can't remember. But like either way, I'm just like in my head, I'm thinking Olivia's actually gonna vote out Bambi right now. Does she not remember this Day Zero alliance I've been preaching every single day? So anyways, I go, hey Olivia, like, talk to another room, girl. And we did, and that's where I'm like, you're not actually wanting to vote Bambi. And like she's like, well, you know, and like she said later on that like she was gonna, I am pretty sure she was gonna vote Bambi. I think that I saved Bambi personally by going and talking to Olivia and being like, yo, we need to switch this vote. And I think once I talked to Olivia, she realized like, yeah, that was the better thing to do. And ultimately it was. I think if Cupini would have stayed in the game, there's a good chance he could have taken me out in the next couple rounds.
So that brings us to day 5, where my favorite twist of the season comes up, where well, first of all, it's another party swap. You guys go from 3 parties to 2 parties, and then out comes a party of secluded players coming back with a possibility of voting 2 players back into the game. How freaked out were you at the point? Be honest with us. From 0 to 10, were you freaking out, or were you like, I'm good?
No, I loved it. I wanted 2 to come back.
Okay.
I wanted
you to come back
to lose. Honestly, I wanted Anthony
so did
to
we.
come back. I wanted Anthony to come back, and I was hoping for Bridget or Bill, not Cupini. I didn't want Cupini back, but I was hoping. And honestly, I didn't know anything about Jess. I mean, once I talked to her later and everything, I think she's freaking great, but Jess wasn't on my radar. She wasn't anything to me. There was nothing. But Bridget, she was somebody that I had seen that I wanted to potentially work with, and same with Bill. So I was hoping one of them, and then the other one be Anthony, because like I didn't want Anthony to go out. Like I said, it's just he made it so easy, and I needed to save myself.
We were rooting for the Blue Party to lose too, so we could get 2 people back. We were really sad about that.
I just didn't want to be the one to make the party lose, and luckily I didn't get the lowest ice cube things in my part, because I didn't want to seem like the one to vote out. So that was my only concern, and my party did lose, so we were the ones to vote somebody out.
You guys have to vote someone out. Yeah. Jess, I don't know if you remember, but you and I were both commentating on that
I remember.
Like for a split second, I got the math wrong, and I thought that they were gonna be, and I was losing my shit.
I was
so excited. Like, yes!
I think Blake may have 2 players coming back right now.
Okay,
Get out.
23 points for
She only need to win by 5.
And can do math, so I trust Karl.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
2 on the table.
It's close. It's close. Docs is doing the count right now. 2.
God. EO gods.
Yeah,
and Danielle.
Execution,
They're
like,
up
2 in the 1.
Get out! Get out of here!
5.
oh my God.
Okay, so that's
No way.
22 points.
No, I won't believe it till Doc says
Everybody's
it.
cameras on.
I think it's 100, 199.
I won't believe it until Doc says it. No. No.
Let's calm down. I don't know. I'm not sure.
With a score of 100 points, Kagwantan has won the challenge. They will not see me tonight at Crossroads.
Oh, what could have been?
What could have been?
Man,
Honestly, I was shocked when it was Jess that came back out of all those people. I was like, how did the votes go here? Like,
complicated mess. That's the only way to describe it.
yeah, I mean, I ended up finding out down the road how the votes went, and I was just really surprised.
So you guys end up voting out Neil, and Jess comes back in. Now, I know you said you wanted to work with Neil. Were you just going with the numbers in that scenario? Anyone but me?
No. Like I said, wanted to work with Neil from day 0. He was someone that stuck out for me. Hearing Zimbabwe, like, just sent vibes. I definitely, like, when I said that to Neil, I wasn't lying. And if Neil would have opened up and tried to work with me and him and Mariana, I really think that vote could have went a different route. But he was gunning for me. So, I mean, ultimately, that didn't work for me. And I talked to Neil one-on-one. I tried to push and like see where his head was at to see if we could go another direction, but he was not biting at it. So it was like I just had a feeling that he was going for me, and obviously I got confirmation of that. And that was the only time in my game that I was really a little bit concerned that I potentially could be going. And the only reason I felt good was because Mariana was there and I trusted Mariana. So I was like, and like this was because I had built close relationships with Karl and Josh at this point. So I didn't think they were going to screw me over at that point either. But I mean, thinking if it was me, I would have got the returnee out. You know what I mean? So I was just like, man, these guys, like, I was nervous.
Yeah. So at this point, does the fact that, particularly because in the last few rounds, there wasn't all men, the red team, that had not faced Crossroad at all. So was this perhaps also coming into your calculations of getting rid of another strong guy, perhaps maybe trying to prevent a majority of men from taking control of the game?
Not for me, no. No, that was just saving my own ass. Neil's going after me, get him out. Wanted to work with Neil. I definitely think, like I said, Neil could have stayed that round if he would have tried to work with me instead of going the Josh route, right, basically. I think that who was all in my, do you remember who was all in there? It was Mariana, me, Neil, Josh, Karl, and there was one more person, wasn't there? Or was that it? Oh, Olivia. See, I think that me, Mariana, Olivia would have had Karl, which I didn't know at this point in time, but I also felt like I really think we could have potentially put the vote on Josh that round. Josh could have went home that round, and that was something that I would never have voiced that unless Neil would have been serious about trying to make something work, because Mariana did want to work with Neil, you know what I mean? So, but Neil was pushing me, and like I wasn't going to be the one to throw that out there because my people would have turned on me in a second and been like, oh, Danielle's going to potentially go for Josh. If Josh found out, I would have been gone, you know? So that would have had a secret play, which was in my head, but Neil just, the way he was going about it that wasn't happening. I wasn't worried about all the guys. Hell no. I had a lot of I felt like, I don't know, like I felt very strong relationships with almost every guy that was from Janet. Like me and Mike, me and Josh, me and Karl, me and David. I had strong relationships with all of the men in my party.
Okay.
You did a great job setting yourself up with everyone, and watching as a mod, I was just like the whole time, how does no one realize she has alliances with everyone? No one ever talked about it with each other. It was hilarious.
That's wild to me, because I think that's what I say when I say that, like, you know, the luck of the draw, you ended up with the perfect season for your type of game, really, honestly, because I feel like in a season where people have looser lips, your game could have crumbled very easily, but these people were just like, oh, I'm tight with Danielle and I'm gonna keep it to myself, and you just like sailed to the end basically like that. That was like that was wild.
That's why I had to watch what I said to people, you know what I mean? And when I get grilled at the end of the game here, it kind of pissed me off.
That's the thing though about your game, because maybe it's because, you know, as a mod, I get to see a little bit more, but you were tripping on some of your lies.
I know. I knew what I was.
Like, I mean, part of the reason why you're so compelling and it's really fun to watch you is because you be messy. And so sometimes I was just like, how is she getting away with this? You know? And like, they just like, you know, they were just letting you, you know.
They didn't catch it. That's why I was able to cover my lines up. Like legit, there was a few times I was like, did anybody notice it? Like legit. There was a few times, I can't remember the moments right now, but I know there was one time and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doomed, but no one even said anything. And I'm just like, okay, carry on.
It was hilarious. Like, I just wondered every episode, are they going to notice yet? Are they going to notice? And Never happened.
No, I didn't.
Like every time, I mean, I know every time I was a commentator, I was just like, oh, next week has to be the week where Danielle gets caught. Like it has to. And they just kept you like, letting you lie. And it was so fun and so funny to watch, so.
It was so easy to, talk to somebody and then tell somebody else what was going on there. And then them go and confront those people, but it didn't come from me,
Never
like
you. They were blaming each other, but never you. Never you.
That's like even the Mike and Olivia blowout, like straight up, like I was just like, okay, don't say too much, Danielle. Let them go at it, because you know what? That definitely could have been put on you.
Yeah.
That actually like kind of saved me a bit, because I was the one who voted Josh, but it got all sidetracked. It was all about the Mike vote. And that's one thing that David was kept saying, like he didn't think, I had said to people, and it didn't get aired or anything, but I was like, I'm pretty sure Karl didn't use his cube or token, and I knew that Karl was the Mike vote. Like I had talked to Karl enough to know that Karl felt safe. Karl did not think he was leaving. You think Karl thought he was leaving?
No,
I think he thought that Mike was going to give him the half compass, and that him and Josh were going to combine it and save him.
Yeah, and also I think he forgot that he could use the Destiny's token. The minute he got to a jury, people were like, why didn't you use it? It's like, oh, I forgot. Like, so yeah.
I think Karl knew that it was between him and Josh. Like we told him, like I told him.
Exactly. I think you're the one who in the last minutes, you're the one who kind of, I think, gave them a heads up. And so they thought it was going to be one of them. And I think he just forgot that he had the option of using his token.
Right. And that's why, like, I couldn't get, there was no, like, nobody was biting at switching their vote over to Josh. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want Karl to go. I don't know if we're even at this Karl part. Are we talking to you?
Yeah, like we skipped a whole bunch of rounds, but like, I guess,
it's fine. So it's cool. We're at the rendezvous.
Yeah.
Congratulations on making the rendezvous, of course. Like that's 2 for 2 on Expedition. So it has to be said that, you play a good game, a game that gets you to rendezvous.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that. Now, I did want to ask you, however, I know we skipped through a lot of things, but that first vote after rendezvous was like something. So
let's back up here, because we missed where Jess came back in and we had that vote with her.
Yeah, so you guys voted.
That was all me, man. I don't care what anyone says.
Add it to the resume.
Honestly, that's what made me so mad at the end, when people weren't taking any of what I know was mine as any consideration. Like in that Jess vote, like where people would have easily voted out Josh, because I'm pretty sure Olivia wanted Josh gone. And it was like, no, like we can't be seen as an all-girls alliance because of Karl. And I knew I wanted Josh gone, but that wasn't the time for Josh to go. And I pushed, and Mariana was with me. Like, and as soon as we had me and Mariana are both on the same page, Olivia's like, yeah, like that was, and I had to convince Jess not to use her token, because, or if did she have a full idol? I can't remember.
Yeah, you did a great job of talking her down from using that.
That was the worst part of my game as a person, on a person to friendship level, because I lied the most to her and like to her face to make sure that either half compasses didn't get to conjoin from her and Josh, or she used her token, because I wanted to make sure. But Josh was on board, thankfully, to get rid of Jess. Honestly, I feel like all of that was because of me. Like I don't know, like 100%, but I'm like 99.9% sure.
Yeah, no, you were very smooth in that whole transaction, getting that done.
I had to convince her, that she was gonna be fine, because she was scared and nervous. And if it wouldn't have been being labeled as all girls already, and we could have took Josh out at that moment, I would have for sure. but I knew that was going to be bad for my game as being labeled as the all girls. Like a girl had to go, and it wasn't going to be Mariana, and it wasn't going to be Olivia or me. So unfortunately, she had to go. If another guy would have come back in, Anthony or Bill, like I would have went for Josh then probably.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, so Jess is voted out. And on the next round, you guys win, so you don't have to worry about it. Philip ends up being voted for, but he's not eliminated. He gets to come back. And then finally,
keep talking, I'm listening.
Yeah. And then finally, Rendezvous happens where now that first vote after Rendezvous was very interesting to me. And I've been wondering exactly what was everyone's a perspective on that first vote, because on one hand, there's the whole Katie and David debacle, which ends up affecting, a huge chunk of the post Rendezvous game. But then there's also theatrics by Joshua, who pretended, I guess, that he was going to give his compass to Philip, but very theatrically rejects Philip. So on these two things, what were you thinking by the end of that crossroad?
First of all, when Philip came back into the game after getting eliminated, I was like, didn't see that coming. Did not see that coming. But okay, because I was considering working with Philip because of day 0. I did actually like Philip, and the thing that sucked was when Janet labeled Philip and Neil, I was like, they were already like in my mind going to be strong players. I knew that, but I like working with strong players. So for me, they were two people that I had considered working with, but then she labeled them and I was like, that's out the window for me. Basically that's a reason to get rid of them, So that worked to my game advantage there. But Mariana was feeling Philip, and I was considering, maybe working with Philip depending on what was going to happen. Josh, when he did that, honestly, that was ignorant, if you ask me. Like I obviously hadn't known what their whole conversation was beforehand. Like when Philip asked about the compass or whatever, and then Josh was like, "Well, I do," or no, did Philip even say? Josh just kind of was like, "Well, I do have a half compass, but I'm not going to use it." Whatever he said was just like, it wasn't necessary, in my opinion. It was stupid. That wasn't even a good game move. Like, honestly, like, I looked at that and like, bonus for me, Josh, because you just made yourself look like a bigger idiot and are going to help me get you out later for that. And red flagged a lot of people doing that. But as an ally of Josh, I was like, what are you thinking? So, I mean, there was two different thoughts going in my mind there. But ultimately, it was good for my game. And Philip going, like, he was such a good player. Like, I respect to Philip all day. He's a great player, and he should be proud of the game he played. And he had to go because he was so good.
Yeah, he tried everything.
Yeah. What about the David and Katie compass? What were your thoughts on that in that play?
I thought it was genius. I thought David had the best move of the season. I was like that. When I found out David actually got that compass from Katie, I was screaming. I was living. Like, what? As a fan? Like, yes! How can you be successful at that? But then when you listen to Katie go on about how he tricked her and all this stuff, it's just, I hate that. It sucks because I feel for her. I like Katie. I think she's a great person. She was a great personality. It's unfortunate she really came into the game not knowing, because I thought she was lying. Like, I thought she knew the game. I did not think she was as oblivious as she was saying. You know what I mean? It was so hard for me to tell. And I avoided game talk with Katie. At the beginning, I wanted to work with her. But once I realized she was being stuck in the same room all the time, when you did go to talk to her, it was about life. There was no game talk happening. I'm a gamer. I can't sit here for an hour and talk about, your martini. So it's just, I love Katie. Huge respect for her, like, great person, don't get me wrong, but like, she needs to understand, and she needs to maybe watch the show to understand that David's move was epic. Like, David, boy, Yes, if I would have been on jury, I would have been voting for David all day long. And I would have been, pushing for him to win and turning that bitter jury around. But I made the end, the finals. So, hey, David, David, he stabbed that knife in it and he turned it, you know what I mean? But like, that's because I want to win the game. But I also was frustrated with how that went down. So I didn't put David down too much because I didn't want to, because he was getting eaten alive and it was unfortunate. So yeah, I thought David's move was great. I wanted, and then like obviously Katie left and that needed to happen. And it also needed to happen like because they kept preaching the all girls thing, which Katie wasn't even going to be a part of, so it was perfect. Get rid of her. She was an easy vote out. When she was saying about her high school thing, like I wasn't even putting that into perspective. I'm sorry, like you should have went. I don't know why you didn't go like for this game. Like you could have done both. Hell, I've got my hair done and played. I've done all sorts of things and played, like just take your phone with you. I don't know. She ate in the airport and did it. Why not go to the reunion and have an hour of it? I would have been dancing and singing and hey, let's go. I don't know. But yeah, that was an epic move, David. Solid, bro. Solid.
Man, he really needed you on the jury.
He did, honestly. If I would have been on the jury, David would have won.
So the next vote, Katie goes home. That was an easy consensus for everyone, like you said. The following vote, another one of David's big allies also goes home, Haley.
And at that point in time, if David didn't win safety or whatever, what's the word for it?
Exemption.
I would have voted out David. I thought that David was a huge threat and they were a strong power duo. And with all the Katie stuff, it was an easy excuse to get David at that point in time. And that move, I thought that move was epic. You know what I mean? At that point, the heat of David having the bitterness at the jury, like I wasn't seeing that. I was seeing that was a sick move. This guy's going to win the game if he gets to the end. You know what I mean? So for me, if David didn't win exemption, he would have went that round. And I think he would have. David would have won that round. But it was like split up the duo. Haley ended up being that person. I was still on the fence about even Haley going. Here I am. This happened to me many times in that chat right before Crossroads with whoever it is. And I tell her, they're going to vote you, Haley. You are getting votes. Trying to tell her to use her token without saying it. You know what I mean? Like, and I thought she would have used her token and she didn't. Because if she would have used her token, Josh would have went. And that wasn't going to be bad for my game.
Well, it wasn't a sure bet. It wasn't a sure bet. It would have won out of a 5 if I'm not, well, yeah.
Yes, but if she would have been successful, Josh would have went in her place.
Yeah, possibly.
The votes were on Jess or Josh.
But
no, he would have for sure.
How come you and Mariana didn't flip and vote Josh instead?
Yeah, because if you guys did, it would have basically he would have gone.
I was not confident in Bambi. So I was seeing the relationship between Bambi and Mike and the relationship of Bambi, Haley, and David. And so I wasn't confident in Bambi in order to flip, but I would have been okay with Haley successfully using her token. That would have made her a bigger threat, would have also got out Josh, would have worked to my benefit because I was still working with her. So it would have went a lot of ways. I still would have still kept Haley and David as a duo that still needed to be broken up. There was a lot of benefits to Haley staying in the game for me at that time too. Plus I liked her, but Haley was also on my radar since the beginning. She was smart. She was strong. She had a wicked good game. And, that's another thing. Haley and David, if they would have cut Katie loose earlier on, their games would have been way different too. So that's on them for, sticking with her and not keeping other players in the game.
Now, do you think it's also possible that at this point, because you've done this a few times now, where right before someone is pretty much bound to leave, where you basically give them a heads up, is that you maybe doing a little jury management, here because,
100% to my benefit in every route of that 100. I did that like 4 times, I think, at least. Like, it wasn't just once or twice. I did it a few times. And yes, in order to, because the way that would have went, either way would have benefited me on these eviction or like people leaving.
Crossroads.
Yes, at Crossroads, but what it like when they get taken out, voted off, whatever. Either way, the 2 people it was between would have benefited me, but I couldn't change my vote because it would have showed my cards. So it would have had to been them to make the right move, like using their token and actually being successful at it to do what would have worked for me to be beneficial to my game.
But yeah, I mean, you did a good job of adapting and voting where you needed to, so your game didn't get exposed, and then you worked from there with who was left.
Yeah, and that was key.
So the next round is when Olivia broke our challenge and Karl ends up getting sent home. And I think you will agree that Karl made a big mistake that day by sitting in a room with Josh for too long.
Yeah, and I knew that Karl and Josh had built that relationship when they were with all those 5 guys in that, when we got all separated there. And that's another time when I really seen B&B, when we did the competition, of how strong these girls were at puzzles and stuff. Like, I knew they were strong without having to see it, but when you see them in action playing and in competitions, you can really see their strengths. And that's where Olivia, like, boom, that girl just crushed it. Like, I was like, damn. And I already knew this, but I didn't expect to grow as good of a relationship with Olivia as I did also, to be honest. I wasn't I wanted to work with her. I did want the friendship, but I actually really, really ended up loving that girl by the end of the game. Yeah, Karl really screwed up. I wanted to keep Karl. Karl has my name on his body. Like, what? When I seen that, I was like, oh gosh, we just became like best friends. Like, I mean, I was legit in it with Karl. Like, I would have took Karl to the end of this game if it was possible. And it was tough because I knew Karl was going to bite himself in the ass because of the way he was playing the game. And we weren't getting enough one-on-one time, me and Karl, either. Like, we were like, yeah, we're good. I thought we were solid. And that's how I roll with my closest allies, though. Sometimes it's like, listen, I'm telling you, we're closest. I'll take you to the end. This is this, but we're going to have the least communication because people can't see that. And that's where he messed up and let everybody see that with Josh. You know what I mean? And I still had his back and I didn't vote for him. I was the only one that didn't vote for him. You know what I mean? And then when when I make the end and he goes, oh, what, you think you're going to give me by, what did he say? A pity vote or something, or a loyalty vote or whatever. It was no pity vote. That's for damn sure. It was a loyalty vote on my part of what I thought my friendship was with Karl. And I had promised Karl at the beginning of the game that I would never write his name down. So I was sticking to that promise. I wasn't going to write Karl's name down, even though he was the vote. I told Karl and Josh, the votes between both of you, you know what I mean? And like, they still sit there and be like, oh, Danielle, like, you know what? But anyways, I haven't had a communication with Karl since the game either, which is sad because I really thought we were developing a really close friendship. And I'm disappointed in the way that my friendship ended with Karl, or wherever we're at. I don't know, because I thought we were a lot stronger and had built a bond that obviously he didn't feel, I guess. And I was sad to see him go. I didn't even get Karl confessional in. Somehow my Karl confessional got lost. I don't know what happened because I did it. And like, so sad. You know what, bro? I thought we were solid. I was super sad you left. And I stuck to my word and I didn't vote you. That should mean something.
I don't think Karl would hold that against you. I'm sure if you reached out to him, you could patch things up.
Yeah, but I shouldn't have to be the one to reach out in that respect. But he's sitting there at the final 3 telling how he's like, yeah, I trusted Mariana so much and we were so tight. And I'm like, what? Like, bro, I had to feed to you and Mariana to trust each other. Like, what? Where do I come in here? Like, you're giving me 0 credit. Like, I was pissed listening to him just because of how much I actually committed in the game to Karl, and then listening to him act like he's so tight with Mariana. I had to tell them both multiple times that Karl, Mariana's with us. Hey, Mariana, Karl's good. We're good, you know, like, and then Mariana be worried about it and be me, her, and Olivia would also be like, yeah, like, I think Karl's good. And that would be the only relationship I didn't see was Karl and Olivia. I knew that Olivia felt good with Karl like I did. Did I know they knew each other before? No, but I did know, and I mentioned this in the conversation. And if you look at that crossroads, I said the people I had conversations with tonight need to remember the conversations we had. I said that at crossroads, and then I put my hair up twice after the conversation I had with Olivia and Mariana to vote Josh. And I did that because if we would have tied the vote, which what would have happened if they voted Josh with me, there was a chance that Bambi potentially votes Josh. I knew she wouldn't vote Mike. So that's why I switched to Josh. I knew Bambi was not going to vote out Mike. So we needed to switch to Josh to have any hope in the revote that potentially David or Bambi see the threat in Josh and he goes before Olivia. And now I don't know what would have actually happened, but that's what my hope was in putting up my hair and having those discussions of, you know, remember where they were at. But anyways, yeah, that kind of got sidetracked.
Okay. So then this brings us to the next round, which is honestly my favorite round of the game because, well, I designed the challenge. I
almost won that challenge, by the way.
I don't know, Danielle, because when you as a Canadian do not know what that Canada is a constitutional monarchy, I was like, I don't know how far you're going to go in the trivia challenge.
The one question for you, the Canadian.
You end up exactly. And as a super tennis fan, when you said, what was it again?
I think I said Vanessa.
Vanessa Williams. I was just like, no.
I didn't have any idea.
Yeah. But then more important than that, after the challenge, the whole mystery of who voted for Mike the previous night starts unraveling and your name comes up. Can you tell us how exactly you navigated that situation? Because you yet again come out completely unscathed, because even though you had not voted for Mike, you also did not vote the way people wanted you to vote, which was to vote
Josh
for
again.
Karl. You voted for Josh. So how did you navigate this double lie situation?
Well, when they brought out the papers, I was like, shit, my paper's nowhere near me. I couldn't write a name down really quick. And so I didn't have time to write down a name, but I could bullshit and say, hey, because I had one time it happened, I didn't have paper and I was like, yo, can I just say it? And then Shane was like, yeah. So I was like, listen, I don't have a paper half the time, guys, you know? And honestly, like, I don't think anybody believed it at first. People were torn, but I think people were war leaning against Danielle's lying. But then what happened was Olivia talking to Mike and Mike telling me that Olivia said what she said, and the words just got misconstrued 100%, and me calling them both out, and then Olivia not like fully admitting to it properly, and she even crushed herself at the votes wouldn't have changed either way for her, but even at crossroads, she even sounded like she was lying, even though I don't know, was she lying or not? I don't even think she was.
The thing about Olivia's game is that she was kind of like spreading doubt everywhere where she could, right?
She got caught in it.
Making sure that you trusted her more than you trusted Mike, and that Mike trusted her more than he trusted you. And so I don't think that she necessarily did lie. I don't think she straight up said that you had voted for her or whatever.
I think she was trying to make it sound like
definitely brought it up because she wanted to spread the doubt between you. She definitely brought it up without saying it because she wanted you guys to mistrust one another, right? And
she didn't see me coming in and confronting them both.
Yeah. And like you said, I think you did a pretty good job at stepping back and just letting them challenge each other's version.
And then David jumped in at this perfect time. So I was like, David, you were even there, right? Like, so good. Honestly, I was out inside my body. I was just screaming half the time, like, this is getting good. But I didn't see Olivia going until the end when David told me, because the thing is Mike didn't actually tell me. I manipulated David there a bit, got him to tell me when Mike had just kind of, suggested something, but never said that anything was happening. And so that's when I kind of manipulated David and was like, well, Mike kind of said, but Mike didn't really say, you know what I mean? So then David admitted that him and Josh and Mike were voting Olivia. So I knew that was going down. And that's why in Crossroads, when you see my vote and I'm saying, oh, I don't know if this is the right thing, I could have played my compass. I could have went and saved Olivia with my compass to keep my girls strong. Or like if I would have had time and if I wanted to, I just didn't want to crush my own game. I almost spoke out in the Crossroads to Mariana and said, don't use that compass on you, girl. Use it on Olivia. And she would have listened to me. And I didn't, because I didn't want to show my cards with Mariana. I didn't want them to see she would trust me to do that. So also, like I said, Olivia in my confessional or whatever after, it was good for Olivia for me to go at this point, even though I didn't want her to, because I was building that relationship with her, because she was such a strong player to win at the end. And this way I felt like I was going to get Olivia's jury vote for sure, because I didn't screw her over. It was all on them. And that's why, because I even debated voting Olivia for the boys to see my loyalty, but I didn't, because like there were so many factors into what was happening there. And then if they would have voted Josh with me, like, so many things could have changed in that moment of that Crossroads. But going into it and ending, like, I was so sad to see her go, but like at the same time I was like, okay, this is sweet. I should get Olivia's jury vote, no problem. I didn't screw her over. She won't be mad at me. She'll see my loyalty through the game. And she was a strong player, and I didn't want to be the one to backdoor her at some point,
Yeah. I mean, as much as you wanted her to stay, you didn't need to play your compass and show that card and put a bigger target on yourself, because you had so many options of people to work with already.
I know.
But so the next vote, you win exemption and you finally get your wish.
Josh goes. I'll tell you right now that if I wouldn't have won exemption, obviously I would have used my compass and they all would have been shocked. I still would have got my way, but I didn't want to use my compass. Obviously, I needed to save that baby. Especially, I can't believe nobody even realized I had a compass. Going to Serrated Peak. First of all, and never touched base on that actually, but like when that whole thing started, as soon as they were like, oh, somebody claims Serrated Peak, I just kept saying in my head, please, nobody claims Serrated Peak. I wanted to do it so bad, but I felt like it would show so many cards to do it so early. And I knew that other people, I was surprised Karl didn't jump on it right away, because I knew in my head, Karl wants this. And so everyone was trying to get 5th place, and I was there for a bit, and I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna get there. And then as soon as Katie and Karl started discussing, I'm like, whoa, like, nope, I'm going to Serrated Peak, like, let's go. Even though, like, and I was planning to say it the whole time, but I was waiting for the right moment, and that was it. And then I was scared that I would have pissed them off because I claimed it when they were discussing claiming it, but nobody even overlooked that. Like, it was gold. And I was just like, Kelly, like, so stoked to see you, girl. Yes, I'm talking to Kelly Wentworth, like, sick. But hey, you got a compass for me? What do you got here? Where's the advantages? And yeah, that was incredible. And I lied. I told Kelly I was gonna lie. I told her that there's a good chance. Don't worry, one of your people's gonna make final 2, because I'm gonna take Mariana there with me. And gave her some hope in that. So I ended up actually doing that challenge. I was scared. Oh, there was like a solid couple minutes in there where I was flipping those cups and I wasn't getting anywhere. And yeah, no, luckily I did it. And then I lied to people, said 4 minutes, 20 seconds or something. And like, just everyone ate it up. And it's like, I even made the lie up saying that I got to keep my vote, and people had come back with no votes, and like nobody questioned anything. That was so nice. But yeah, sorry, back into where your question was here.
Well, speaking of Bambi, the next round, Bambi is the one voted out. Now, At this point, why was it Bambi? Why was Bambi the target? Like, because you were pretty tight with Mariana. You had the option of David, Mike, or Bambi. Why was it Bambi and not Mike or possibly David?
That was all had to be thought about a lot. I thought about that for a long time before we like came into play. The thing is I felt that David was going with me and Mariana. And I felt at that point, I had realized that the people were going to be bitter with David about the Katie thing. I thought the Katie thing was picking up traction, or was going to pick up traction at the end if David went to the end. So, and then Mike, I hadn't broke Mike's trust fully at all. So I knew if Mike stayed, that there was a good chance that he does take me to the end with him. Bambi was the only one that I wasn't confident would take me to the end. I felt like Bambi would probably take anybody but me. And Bambi, like since the beginning of the game, I was just like, I know Bambi's your girl, Karl. And you know what? I love Bambi now, obviously. But in a game, I wasn't feeling Bambi. Like, Bambi was a tool for me. Bambi was a tool in the Bambi, Olivia, and Mike thing, but I wasn't trusting Bambi. Like, Bambi did not have my trust through that game. I thought I had built it more when I saved her with the Kupini vote or whatever, but we didn't get to really talk about that after, because we got all separated right after that and she wasn't there that night. So even though we did eventually talk about it, and I felt like the one after we were good, but I could feel her and Mike's relationship growing so much, and I just didn't trust Bambi. So for me, Bambi was the right move to go for my game.
So on the next vote, where you had the choice between David and Mike, and I guess Mariana too, but at this point, was that even an option? Like, why was it David and not Mike that you chose to go to the final three with?
David ended up being like thinking he was locked in, pretty confident, he was good, and Mike was more like
oh, that's right, because you scared the crap out of him and you kept saying yes, that I hope you'll still vote for me if I vote you out tonight.
Yes. And they both questioned me, and they both and I had to keep up, I was lying in certain parts of that, and it was lies, but at the same time as it wasn't, because my head was going back and forth. I was at first knew I was always going to take David because of the potential, and it was only potential that there was going to be hate on him because of Katie. I didn't know for sure that jury was going to be bitter at him because of Katie. I just had thoughts that they would be. And with Mike, I knew Mike had Bambi's vote for sure. Mike had showed his cards with Karl and Josh that they were all a lot tighter than when they got into that 5 after. They all ended up a lot tighter than I thought my relationship with Karl and Josh was tighter than Mike's, you know what I mean? And that was the only reason why I was considering taking Mike, was because I was like, I should have Karl and Josh's votes. But then I started to think about it, no, you know what? Those guys were totally giving these guys vibes, and then they're going to be pricks and go and vote Mike to win over me at the end because they're bros, And to me, it was Mike played a great game. But there was points when we started to lose trust with each other, I think, and it wasn't fully there. And ultimately Mike would have probably beat me at the end for sure. And David, I felt I had a chance against. If the jury was bitter, David wasn't winning. And I mean, I was right in that retrospect. The jury was bitter. So I mean, I made the right choice when it comes to that. And at this end of the day, I still I'm a player also, and I had mentioned this a lot, where I like to see the best people at the end, and I'll go against the best. And I do think David played a better game than Mike. I love Mike. Think Mike played a solid game. Close, Mike had one of the best games. But David taking that compass from Katie, as a fan, as a gamer, that was huge. That was a huge move. If you're a fan, that had to have been something that you were just screaming. You know what I mean? So I had to respect that move on David's part and hope that Katie was at least bitter and was going to give me her vote, where I knew with Mike, who knows where Katie vote's going to land. With Bambi's definitely going to Mike. With David, who knows where Bambi might vote. She might follow Mike's vote. And Mike, I thought, would for sure give me his vote if he was in jury. So I thought Bambi might follow Mike in that respect. So like, I was thinking about votes from the jury when I was thinking about who was going to the end between Mike and David. And also who played the best game. So ultimately, I knew it was the right choice to take David in respect of if I didn't win, he should win, or in respect of I thought I would get more votes than he would potentially, and that's where my head was at.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll tell you right now that the game's over, like, yeah, we had this day zero alliance, me, Mariana, and David. No, I was solid with Mariana too to the end. You know, 3 alliance was in and out of my head. You know, there was times when I was like, yeah, this is going to go all the way. And then there was times where I would have gotten rid of David, as I've said before. So, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I guess this brings us to basically jury, because the 3 of you get a chance now to plead your case in front of the people that you have voted out. And so I guess we should be a little tougher with you at this point, right? Because the thing about your game, though, however entertaining it is, I feel like the management of the jury maybe not be your strongest suit, or at least the read of the jury, because you've definitely, I guess, at this point assessed that David would have a little bit of heat for how things went down with Katie. But did you at any point in the game up to this point think about how you and your game would be perceived if you had made it to, if you had, and you actually successfully did make it to the final?
Honestly, I thought people were going to respect my game a lot more than they did. I definitely did not see it coming the way that jury answered and treated us. Like, I mean, not even just my game, all 3, actually, mine and David's game more particularly. I was surprised at how much credit Mariana was getting. And I was thankful that Mariana was correcting people in places that she should never have been taking credit for. And she was being honest with that, and not like some people would have lied and tried to take the credit when it wasn't due. And I respected Mariana very much for being truthful in what actually had happened.
Yeah, but then do you think so that was a maybe perhaps a flaw on your part, where
No, I think they were a bitter ass jury that didn't pay attention to the game.
Is it not your responsibility as a player to basically understand who you're playing with and understand that you have to cater to what they would want in a winner in order to get their vote at the end? No? That not
you think that Katie going off on David the way she did was legit? Like, I don't, but did I use it? Yeah. But like the way that people were representing people's games, and you know, oh, Danielle, it didn't seem like you did much in the game. Bite me, bud. I did tons. I don't care what people
I agree.
say.
I think, yeah, you defended your game. I think the idea of you defended what you did is correct. You have to, you should. But
yeah, I get what you're saying.
Like,
I do
their
understand
perception of that, the way they respond to that, right? Whether or not that makes them, like, you know.
The thing is, you get a leader in a group that's being a dickhead, and people end up getting worked up and following and getting those feelings back of where they lost, of where it might not even have been someone's responsible for their demise. But, you know, somebody gets people heated up, and then, you know, you're the ones at the end, so now you're getting blamed for it, you know? Like, I don't know. I don't think that. I thought my jury management, I will admit, I am not good at jury management, because like for me in a game, I think that to some extent you should have some jury management, but I'm a player that I make it to jury. I only one time actually did I vote, and it was on Expedition Online in the way that in the opposite way that I say that I vote, because I knew Trent was winning and I was giving Sneha a loyalty friendship vote. I think Trent should have won the game. I think Trent played an amazing game. And my vote wasn't because if I knew it was going to be a tight vote, I would have voted Trent. But I knew that Trent was winning by a landslide there. So I gave Sneha a vote because she did play a decent game and whatever. I was friends with her. But most of the time, every other game I've played, I'm level-headed. I am voting for who played the best game, and I'm going to listen to those players, and I'm going to let them tell me what I missed. What didn't I see see in the game that you did that was yours or whatever, you know what I mean? And I really just think that jury, the way they went about it, I think that Josh was the leader. I think he was bitter. I think him and Karl had made a tight friendship there, and somehow Karl latched onto that and people just followed. And whether they agreed with it or not, I don't know. I obviously haven't seen the comments, but I'm definitely disappointed in that jury.
I think this was definitely a unique jury scenario. And I mean, like Karl said, it is good to manage the jury ahead of time and try and figure out like what they're looking for at the end. But I don't really think that you could predict that with this group. Like,
even listening to what they said when you ask them in their back ranches, like things that I've seen, when they've been asked what they're looking for in a winner, or even when docs had asked questions like that, they say what they were looking for, which is like, even when Josh got taken out, he says, "Man, talk about your charity." Only person at the beginning to talk about their charity was me, potentially, and I did that because Josh said that on his way out, and the other two didn't bring up their charities until after I did, remembering it. I listened to what people said through the game to try to adapt to what they wanted to see in a winner. So when the way they went about it, and like, whether it was a show or not, I think it was disrespectful. And I think they should have really spoken what their real feelings are and how they really feel about who played what and what played where. And if they were not sure about things that happened and who was involved, maybe we should have talked a little bit more about it, because it seemed to me like Josh and Mike thought they made every move in the game.
It's interesting.
And maybe Karl with them. I don't know where Karl's head was really at, but yeah, I wasn't happy with that jury.
It's interesting because a lot of the people that are sitting on that jury, like they come across as like more of like a cutthroat, bold type player and personality. And like,
I was shocked.
And I thought that they would like big moves. And like, if any of them were sitting in the seats you guys were in, you would have shown them the respect, love the big moves. So definitely thrown off by that. Mm-hmm. And I think that some of the bitterness does attribute to the tone of the jury and certain people coming in and it just snowballing into everyone getting really upset.
Yeah, I've had conversations with some of them prior, and I'm not going to blast anybody out here. And they've told me, when certain people entered the jury, the whole entire conversation's changed, and it's sad that people felt that they were so high and mighty in the game. I'm not discrediting their game. They played great games. I will say the final 10 all played a great game. Everyone had a different game. And that's the thing to where when you have this many strong players, you need to respect that and see that, I know all my moves weren't made just on my own. I didn't do it by myself, but did I push a lot of them or do certain parts on my own that I did myself? Definitely. Like at the end where we discussed, but like I knew that I couldn't do all these things on my own either. I will say I had people in my corner the whole time, every move that was made. And, Mariana was a big part of that for my game. And, at certain points, Josh and Karl, where Mike always was until near the end, Mike was a huge part of my game. Me and Mike played a very, very tight-knit, very similar, close game in that aspect because we were doing a lot of the same stuff. He was very social. He was doing a lot of things, and it's just very unfortunate with the way the jury went about things. I hope at the finale that people, kind of own it and say, like, hey, maybe I was wrong, and maybe you guys played a bit of a better game than we really wanted to admit.
I think you're definitely going to get that. I hope you get that because they have a little bit more distance from it now, but I think that's kind of like the beauty of this game, this type of game that we all like. You're asking, and like we hear this all the time. You're asking the people you voted out of the game to give you a vote to win the ultimate prize. So in doing so, you have to be able to assess how is that person going to react for when I vote for them out, And I think maybe perhaps that's where your game lacked a little bit of tact, but who
You
knows?
have to have somebody that's going to rally for you on the jury. And you see, the thing is, there is the strongest person on the jury, I think, from my understanding, was Josh. And Josh and David didn't have that tight-knit relationship for Josh to go and rally for David in the move he made. And me and Mariana kind of probably pissed him off, so he was bitter with us. So in the other aspect, Mike had just left. He was still heated. He wasn't thinking straight, he was, let's go, whatever Josh was saying. I was surprised, like Jess mentioned.
To that point, maybe like when you were voting between David and Mike, do you think that at least like, saying stuff like, playing with their emotions a little bit, was that helping your game at the end? You know what I mean?
I don't know. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. So I don't really care.
I mean, it's fun. As a viewer, I'm loving it. I'm just asking for someone who wants their vote at the end. Is that necessarily the best thing to do to get their vote?
I thought I would have had my vote locked in. Honestly, we were so tight the whole game. I didn't think it really mattered at that point. If Mike would have been in the position I was and voted me out, Mike would have had my vote with, well,
we don't know yet.
It would have been tough because I would have been that's hard to say actually. But Mike and me, like, I thought we were tight enough that I would have Mike's vote no matter what.
Well, maybe you did. We don't know the results yet. It's going to be interesting where the votes fall out,
If Mike didn't vote for me to win, I'm going to be hurt. I'm going to be honest. If he didn't vote for me to win, I am going to be hurt. There's a few votes. If I didn't get, I'm going to be upset about.
Well, we don't know where any of the votes went, but if you had to guess, how do you think they fell?
I think David got at least one vote, maybe two. And I think me and Mariana it's going to be a one vote decision between the two of us.
Okay. And where do you think, who do you think is going to win, you or Mariana, in this scenario?
I should win. And I think I might win only because I'm a Janet. It would be surprising if the Janets voted Kelly to win. If they do, they really were that bitter. And I won't be that disappointed because, I don't think Mariana played the best game. Love Mariana, but I don't think she played the best game. But at the day zero, when I see Mariana in the game, I had a mission, and that was for me and Mariana to win, be at the end. And if my girl wins, I won't be sad. If her or David win, for that matter, I wouldn't be sad. I think they're both, for Mariana, not the best game, but she was my goal. So if my girl wins, I still win. In my opinion, if Mariana wins, I feel like I'm still winning. And I think even if I win, she might feel that way too. So hard to say. But with David too, I think David played an incredible game. If somehow people are bullshitting and actually did vote him to win, I mean, he played an incredible game, so he deserves it as well if he does win. But ultimately, I think I played the best game, and I'm a returnee. I deserve the win, and I really hope it's me. I want to be representing.
Well, with that said, how do you feel about your second time around on Expedition? As far as like, what were your takeaways from this second time around? What did you learn this time that you didn't the first time?
Well, I gotta be with the coaches, Janet and Kelly. Hell yeah. Ultimately, I mean, nothing's really changed for me gameplay wise. Like I'm pretty like gameplay, real life, all this. Like I'm a very unique person. So I just it was all good for me. I didn't really learn too much. Oh, I guess if I learned anything, some people I already knew people are bitter as hell. Like, if anyone plays a game with me, they should probably make sure I'm in the jury so that the vote actually goes where it should. Just saying. I'm serious.
That's your jury cheerleader right there.
I would like to mention though, if once this season's over and I get some more time, obviously I'm going to reach out to the Expedition Online team, but I'd like to be a part of your guys' team and maybe be watch a commentator sometime or something like that when the next season comes out, or put me in, coach.
I think you'd have some very colorful commentary to watch.
That's for sure.
Yes,
a good time.
Definitely. I wanna even mod and listen to some of the people in the rooms. And I haven't ever been a part of a game and in helping anything like that. And I don't have time to host my own games. So if there's anyone I'd want to be a part of, it's this one. So
Yay. Well, we
Yeah.
would love to help you do that stuff. And we loved having you this season. You're always so much fun to watch and have on the cast. And we'll definitely get you in on the backside of things. And maybe one day in the future, when like an all-stars of sorts rolls around, maybe we'll see you there too.
You better be bringing me there. You can't have an all-star season without Danielle. Let's go. Let's go. I better be seeing both of you there as well. Final 3.
Oh.
Pre-gaming.
Oh, that's pre-gaming already? The all-star season hasn't even been announced yet.
I'm all for it, baby.
Danielle's ready to go.
Yeah.
Well, this has been Back at the Ranch. And we will see everyone for season 4. TBD. Bye.
Thank you.